that will provide businesses with an improved range of services from local experts to help you research, break into, and expand in high growth but often harder to access markets. And the rest of this series, the rest of the series is going to feature local experts sharing insight about the opportunities and key considerations of doing business in these three regions. And that's going to start today with Central and Eastern Europe. And we're very lucky to have with us today Chris Plant, who's the CEO of the British Slovak Business Centre, and Patrick Ney, Director of the British Polish Chamber of Commerce, as our expert speakers on this region. And Chris Southworth, who was on the webinar last week explaining the initiative, is also on the call to answer any questions. Speaking of questions, you can ask a question at any point using the question box on the control panel in the right-hand side of your screen. And we'll get through as many of these as possible at the end of the presentation. And if there's any that we don't get to, then we will follow up those after the webinar, where there's an opportunity to ask them on our Q&A forum. And finally, don't worry about taking notes. We'll be recording the webinar and it'll get uploaded to our YouTube channel, youtube.com open to export, in the next couple of days. And you can view this and any of our previous webinars on that channel. So I'll just take a moment actually while Gemma gets the slides working. They're up and running, perfect. So without further ado, I will hand over to Chris Plant to introduce himself and take us through the presentation. Over to you, Chris.
Super, thank you. Thanks very much, Matt. That's great. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And as Matthew already mentioned, this is the webinar number 2 in the series to showcase overseas opportunities for business. We want you to understand the practical support, everything that is on offer on the ground, and how to access it. So today, as Matthew had already said, we're going to focus on Central and Eastern Europe, the CEE. My name is Chris Plant, and I represent the British Slovak Business Centre, and I'm speaking to you today from the centre of Bratislava. If I look out the window now, it's around 31 degrees, and I've got to say it's pretty muggy out there. I've been based here in Slovakia for nearly 10 years. I've actually lived outside of the UK for over 23, and like many of my CE counterparts, we hope that we can give you the actual advice based on our experience and introduce you to our networks throughout the region. I would like to give you a little bit more insight into the CEE, perhaps some tips how to succeed in business, and also to explain the benefits of working with our CE business network as we try to bring you closer to the customer and to help you increase or even begin your exporting process. So we just move on to the next slide. Thank you. So firstly, let's have a look at where we are exactly. The CE is a generic term for a group of countries in the Central, Southeast, Northern and Eastern Europe, usually meaning the former communist states, of course. We're uniquely located here between Western Europe and the emerging markets of Russia, Turkey and China. And if you look at this map here, you'll see the cross-section of Europe. Starting on the left, just to recognize a little bit there, we've obviously cut the map a little bit, but there's Germany on the left in the blue. The CE region is in the lighter colors, and you can see Austria just between Czech Republic and Slovenia there. And on the right-hand side at the top there is Latvia, moving down Belarus, Ukraine, larger country, and then Moldova. So in the CE there we have Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, which is where I am, Hungary, Slovenia, and Romania. Let's move on to the next slide. So why Central and Eastern Europe? Well, there are many reasons why you should be looking at this area for exporting, and as I mentioned, we are uniquely positioned between Western Europe and the emerging markets. The region of combined GDP is over £1 trillion, and there are over 100 plus people in the region, so that's nearly twice as many as in the UK. The CE is only 2 to 3 hours away from the UK, so it's very accessible, and it's serviced by a large number of budget airlines, ideal obviously for medium-sized and small businesses that are on tight budgets. The average annual growth across the CE has been 2.6% over the last 5 years, if you compare that with 0.5% for the Eurozone and 0.2% for the UK. There are also low levels of public debt in the CE, still below 50%, if we compare that to the Eurozone average, which is close to 90%. And obviously that's going to ensure economic stability, resulting in long-term and sustainable growth. Between 2014 and 2020, the region will benefit from around £125 billion in EU funding. So it's pretty impressive. And obviously we have a very highly educated workforce across the CEE with very strong language competence across the whole region, which makes a very big add-on for British companies. The British brand is very well liked and respected, and there is strong demand from local distributors for innovation, and that's value-added British products. So if we look on to the next slide now, imports and GDP growth forecast. We look at this now and we can see that on the left-hand graph here we have the yellow columns and the red columns. The yellow columns are the EU3 countries, that's France, Germany and Italy, and the red columns are the UK companies. So this is, the red columns are export from Britain to the CEE, the yellow columns are the EU3 countries, and that is basically that is a complete average, so not a combined total. If you look on the left-hand side there, you can see straight away that Poland, we're exporting to Poland really under half as much as the EU3 countries. You slide along slightly to the right and you see Romania and then Slovakia, and you can see that we're only exporting from the UK a quarter of what the EU3 countries are doing. And if you look at Slovenia at the very end, you can see it's just a fraction. So you can still see there's a massive potential for opportunities in the CEE. And the EU3 countries, Germany, France and Italy, are really taking advantage of those opportunities, whilst we in the UK are really not looking at that opportunity and obviously not looking at the potential for profit. If we move over to the right-hand graph here, we can see that the GDP growth forecast for 2013-2017, so the next 3 to 4 years, you look at the blue column there and you'll see the Eurozone. The Eurozone is on about 1.5 of GDP. We look at the left hand of that, the left side of that there, and you'll see that the red bars indicate the CEE GDP. And if we take an average across there, you'll be looking at 3%. So looking at the green columns, you've got the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India and China, and they're around 4%. So even though we do have the higher growth rate in the BRICS, I would say that the risks and probably the costs also are significantly higher there. So if you're looking at the CEE, you're looking at a relatively safe market, very close by, and indeed that means it's a very attractive proposition. Let's move on to the next slide now. We'll have a look at population and GDP per capita. So if we're looking at the population, you look at the left-hand purple graph there, and you'll see that even, and although the countries do differ a lot in size, the whole region, as we mentioned before, covers over 100 million people, 100 million plus. So that is an incredibly large market. You look at the column there with Poland, you can see that Poland are at the population of 38 million people, Romania in second place with 21 million, and of course Czech Republic and Hungary just following that up there with 10 million each. If we look onto the right-hand graph, we can see that the GDP per capita is not so high. That means the GDP is the purchasing power. So how much does an individual have to spend? How much can he spend? It's still growing across the region. People are spending money. They're not saving their money. They're spending. So it does make us understand that there are opportunities. So for instance, let's have a look at some different types of industries. So if we look at retail, for instance, even if retail on the model has a low income, the model retail does show that with high numbers of individuals with a smaller purchasing power, it can still make a difference and give you a large income. Many CE countries do also have very wealthy individuals within. That's the kind of people where money is really no object. So this creates a lot of other exciting opportunities in luxury areas such as jewelry, watches, exclusive cars, and many other luxury items. But I think the most important stat that we should take from these figures really is that with low purchasing power, the CE workforce obviously have a lower income, which means lower salaries, and that also means cheaper labour costs for UK businesses. So all in all, it's a really very interesting opportunity for UK businesses to export. Okay, let's move on to the next slide now. Okay, so growing incomes, lower cost. I think if we look at the left-hand graph, which starts in the year 2000, you'll see that the rise going from left to right up to 2014 is very constant. It's clear that GDP per capita is growing in all countries. We don't really look at the Ukraine, obviously it's a little bit less predictable now, but all of the countries are rising across the bar. We get to 2014 and they're continuing to rise, so that means more purchasing power in the near future, so more potential income for UK exporters. Slowly increasing salaries as well, so let's not wait too long for investments in the CEE. Look over to the right as well, we can see what the relevance to the UK exporter is. Obviously with salaries increasing, we still have to understand they are relatively low, but not extremely low. So we don't just want to think about, let's say, low salaries if we want to go to the CE. We don't just come to the CE just because of the low salaries. People may not be so efficient, perhaps as you're used to in the UK. Perhaps your production costs won't be significantly lower. However, they will provide the experience and the overview in the market. In making business plans as well, really take into consideration other costs that are lower across the network. For instance, if you're going to say, let's build a 10,000 meter square warehouse, for instance, in Poland, you'll be looking at probably half the cost as you would if you were to create that in the UK. Perhaps if you're going to import raw materials from Turkey, perhaps into Romania, let's say for the textile industry, you're probably looking at about a third of the price than it would be to transport that to the UK. So this should really get you thinking and start to understand the opportunities. The highly educated workforce and also the costs for employment are also very attractive as well. So let's go on to the leading sectors now. Thank you. So this is a list of some of the leading sectors per country and some of the opportunities that you'll find in the CE. I would note, though, also for the sake of this presentation and for us to help you, it really doesn't matter which business sector you're in, because most of the businesses really do need a similar type of support, and this support is on offer to you through UKTI and the British Business Centres across the region. There are key countries and certain sectors, and a few of these are mentioned in the table here that we've prepared, but really this only scratches the surface. For instance, you see Czech Republic, food, drink, agriculture, professional services. We look at Hungary with education, ICT, and a lot of these are repetitive throughout the countries too. Poland, energy, infrastructure, engineering. Romania, banking and biotech and engineering. Then we've got Slovakia, which is clearly automotive, nuclear energy, but also in Slovenia you have automotive, life sciences, etc. But as I said, this really does scratch the surface. So we're here for you and to try to find the opportunities for your business, whether it be in Poland or Slovakia or perhaps any of the other 6 CE countries where we have business centres. Our network has contacts with the neighbouring CE countries that may not be in the Overseas Network Programme. We're also a network that, we must remember, a network that is created by business for business. We provide a cohesive business network, and obviously from the UK there is now this seamless connection to the Overseas Business Network, which is what you're seeing today. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I was able to give you a clear picture of why the CE is very attractive and a very viable option. I'll be available for questions at the end, but I'd like to introduce my colleague now, Paddy Ney, who you can see there, who's going to focus on CE business centres, the core services we have on offer, and a few of the case studies across the region. Thank you. Paddy.
Thanks, Chris. Fantastic presentation. I hope you can hear me. I hope the screen is good quality. I'm not coming to you live and direct from a hot place like Slovakia right now. I'm actually in Wolverhampton. I've been meeting this morning with some fantastic British businesses at a UKTI and Chamber organised event, talking to them about the opportunities in Poland and the CE business region. So what I'm going to do in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so is take you through the offer that you can get from the International UK Business Network, of which the British Polish Chamber of Commerce, the British Slovak Business Centre, and the other markets we're talking about here in CE business are a part of. So looking at it really from a top-down perspective, what it is that we can offer you is the front door to practical export support. We are very much B2B business organisations. We've got excellent networks and connections right across the countries in which we operate, with local business agencies, with individual businesses, most importantly with the kind of people that you want us to talk to on wholesalers. And of course, we work very closely in market with UK Trade and Investment, as we do right across the UK as well. Really, in essence, the International UK Business Network is all about practical advice from business experts and entrepreneurs. Chris is someone with a huge amount of business experience in Germany and Slovakia. My own experience is working for UK Trade and Investment in the UK, covering West Africa and South Africa. I also worked for UK Trade and Investment in Poland. I've been living here since 2010, and I run my own consultancy company, a careers consultancy company for young Polish people in Poland. So these are markets that right across the world, the International UK Business Network understand. We're close to the detail, we're close to the people, the culture, the business etiquette, and the business networks which can enable you and your business to prosper in our markets. Effectively, we're part of the end-to-end support that's available from accredited UK chambers of commerce. So if you're not a part of the UK Chamber of Commerce network, do make sure you're speaking to your local representative about how that can help you. And that accredited UK Chamber of Commerce network, supported by the British Chambers of Commerce, is really now linking into the official approved International UK Business Network, which is made up of organisations like the British Slovak Business Centre, the British Polish Chamber of Commerce, and other international business organisations across the UK, across the world. So we just go to the next slide, Gemma. What is it that we do? Well, what I'm going to cover in the next couple of slides is the core international trade services that you can get when you go out to the International UK Business Network, and some of the additional elements that you can get from the CEE business region from the British Polish Chamber of Commerce. What I'll then do is just talk to you about some of the examples that we've had across the region helping British companies, and talk to you how it works on the ground. So in essence, what we've done here with this slide is try to show you how this project works, how your project will work when you come out to market, the kinds of things that you can expect from the International UK Business Network. I think it's really important to note what we've written at the bottom, which is that all of our projects are completely bespoke to the client. We recognise that you as individuals within your companies are all completely unique. Your companies are unique, the history, the products, the services, the production timescales, your export experience, your export budget are all unique to you. So inevitably, when we work with British companies, we put together unique and bespoke projects. But what we've done here with this slide is try to show you the core services that you can expect from our network. Connecting with business experts is all about accessible B2B advice and support. We're online so that you can reach us quickly and easily. And we make sure that we are regularly coming to the UK, doing events like I've done this morning, meeting great British companies in Wolverhampton. And we're also hosting in-market trade delegations and missions. Startup support is all about making sure that British businesses can access the business centre network that we have in a very strong way in the Central and Eastern European region, but also making sure that you can understand how you can get in contact with our networking, our hot desking and informal mentoring, some of the contact services that we offer, including, for example, introduction to local business networks, buyers, agents, distributors, local business events. Of course, trade fairs are a really important part of exporting internationally. And professional business services, whether it's legal, logistic, linguistics. We are networks of businesses, and we have our strategic partners in place to be able to help British exporters with exactly the right kind of services to smooth and speed up their journey into market. That's what we're all about, helping you as quickly and as efficiently as possible with startup support. We're also here to help build your market share. So if you've got a distributor with a local geographical distribution network, we'll help to understand how we can grow that into a national one. We'll look at making sure that you're getting in front of your customers, and right across the business network can help you with that. We'll help strengthen your partnerships. So whether it's introducing new products and services into an existing sales channel, whether it's identifying new specific opportunities, launching new products, or strengthening your local marketing strategy, we're here to help you with that. And crucially, we want to see you doing business right across the region. We want to see you doing business not just in Poland, not just in the Central and Eastern Europe region, but right around the world as well. So we'll help reconnect you back into the available support that's there from the International UK Business Network and UK Trade and Investment Advice Network that's out there as well. We're organisations that work very closely with each other. Sometimes we're based in the same buildings, and that means that whoever you start your conversation with about coming out to market, you'll inevitably be drawing from the expertise of both UK Trade and Investment and the International UK Business Network. So Gemma, if we just pop to the next slide. Here we've listed some of the additional services that you can get from our network in the Central and Eastern European region. I won't read all of them out loud because obviously you can see them yourselves, but I'll pick, for example, market overview, research and sector analysis. This is really important to making sure that you understand who's your target market, do they want to buy your products, have they got the money, as Chris was saying, to afford your products, is there growth in that sector and trends that you can spot which can allow you to get ahead of the game. I'd also pick, for example, competitor analysis. Are your competitors under or overpriced relative to you? How much margin does that give you in your discussions with your distributors? competitor analysis is vital to understanding what your route to market entry strategy should be. Also, I'd pick out risk and budget management strategies from there. I'm going to talk about both those issues in the next slide, but I think it's really crucial that you understand what are the risks when you come into market, and of course potential gains, and what are the budgets that you'll need to put in place to manage both those. So these are all services that you can get from the CEE region in one form or another. They work closely with UK trade and investment products and services. If you're not aware of what you can get from UK trade and investment, I recommend you get in touch with either us in the Chambers of Commerce and Business Organisations or your local UKTI ITA. Essentially, what we do is put together complex market entry strategies for you to come into market. As I mentioned earlier before, they're completely unique to you, but your account manager will guide you into market, put you in touch with the experts that can help you, and really make sure that whatever it is that you need to make and see value for your company, that we make happen. So we're all about creating value for you. We're here to help typically British small and medium exporters. That's our mission. It's a shared mission that we have both in Poland, the CEE region, and right across the 41 markets involved in this new project. Just pop to the next slide. One of the great new things that we've got as a result of this project is the British Business Centres. And you can see some images of these places. These are great looking places. They're absolutely fantastic to visit. They're set up and designed to give you support when you come into market. It's particularly valuable when you're entering a market for the first time. That you've got a space in which you can access the advice and the support of your local trade team that sits within the business centres, that you can network with other British and local market companies that are in the market you want to visit. And if you're looking, and I think this is really important for sales and marketing support, the fact that you've got these really great visible statements about the quality of the UK. We all make sure that we use the Great Britain brand because that really is about selling the best of the UK. Then sales and marketing can really be a fantastic thing that we can offer for you. For example, at the British Polish Business Centre, you can see an image of it in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. We were able to put on sales and marketing and product launches for British companies. And in fact, in Wolverhampton this morning, I was talking to a British company about doing that for the luxury bathroom sector. And that's something that's really exciting, very visual, and can help drive sales and interest in your products. So the business centres are here. As you can see there, we've got many of them in the Central and Eastern European region. There are more coming on stream, and we hope that long term this will be a network of physical space and support that can help grow your business. Go to the next slide. Chris and I have knocked our heads together and come up with a few of the key top tips for doing business in the CE region. They may seem pretty simple, but it's always worth repeating. The great thing is Western Europe. So you shouldn't expect any of the cultural shock that you might get from some of the further and more distant markets. There are some small differences, but there's nothing that you can't overcome by talking to your account manager in the organisation that's supporting you. Do make sure that you budget and that you plan wisely. As I mentioned before, this is really vital part of exporting. Many of the companies that are already exporting will have learnt this lesson perhaps painfully or would have planned in advance. Some of the attendees that we've got who are just thinking about starting their export journey, it's really important to state it's going to probably cost you more than you think, and it's going to take more of your time than you think. And unfortunately, it's true to say, I think that where we are in the International UK Business Network, we sometimes see companies making the mistake of not having sufficient budget in place or the permission of their boss to spend that budget, and not understanding that coming into market really does take a lot of your time. I have a company that right now we're helping come into the Polish market. They're also planning to enter an African market and a Middle Eastern market at the same time, and that's fine, but they've only got one export manager. So that poor person is really stressed out having to deal with 3 very different business cultures and very different markets and very different market entry strategies. So making sure that you plan for your market entry and that you structure it appropriately, absolutely important. Visit the market. Personal trust and personal relationships, like pretty much everywhere else in the world, are absolutely vital in CE region. Apart from anything else, if you're looking to manufacture, or if you're looking to work with a partner, or you want to establish a distributor's bona fides, you've got to make sure that you're visiting them on site. Do they conform to the right safety standards? Do they have, for example, the stock in the distribution center that they claim they do. These are all things which can help you understand trust, and we know that trust is the vital ingredient when you're looking at a foreign market, because it's a new market that you've never entered before. We're about making sure that we can help you build trust with your wholesaler, distributor, agent, partner, the person you want to make grow your business in market. So visiting the market to establish that trust is absolutely vital. And do expect to come back to the market more than once. I was talking just today to a communications company. The great thing about our region is we're just 2 hours away from the UK, and there's lots of low-budget flights that can get you in and out of a day. It's one of our key selling points. It means that if you want to go and meet a high-value client in one day, like this communications company frequently does, then you're able to fly in and meet them face-to-face. And clearly, a face-to-face meeting is a much more effective way of sealing a deal. Your distributor is not your sales and marketing arm. I think this is really important. You've got to have an effective sales and marketing strategy in place. You've got to have that obviously agreed with your distributor, but you've also got to make sure that it's executed as well. Too often we see in Poland and the CE region that people don't actually police and work with their distributor effectively, and that sometimes, unfortunately, your distributor can make claims around their sales and marketing that then aren't followed through. So do make sure you think carefully about your sales and marketing arm. Do make sure, for example, that if your distributor isn't capable of selling and marketing not just your core product range, but your wider product range, that you've got some kind of support in market, in the local language, which can help you grow your business. Because as you know, having a distributor is fine, but the product's got to be flying off the shelves. Build good contacts, and many of them. We offer, as the International UK Business Network, a wide range of business mixers, policy events, and opportunities to meet with other business people who've been there and done that and can help you, or companies which can provide services which can support you. Frankly speaking, the more data, the more relationships you can build, the more ability you have to understand the market in which you're operating. So in view of that, Gemma, here we're popping up. I'm going to take you very briefly through 3 companies that the International UK Business Network in the CE region has helped, and they're all 3 great British companies. Very briefly in view of the time, because I want to make sure that we've got time to answer your Q&A. Roman, luxury showers, absolutely fantastic, great British example of great British brand and product, looks fantastic, absolutely appeals to the high-end consumer that Chris was talking about earlier. £12 million turnover, so a pretty reasonable sized company with excellent export experience already to all sorts of different markets. Got in contact with us to see if we could help them access a local distributor in Poland. And after a bit of work, we were able to find them a distributor with access to 100 plus high-end salons across Poland. So really the ideal person for them to meet. And that will be rolling out at the end of this year. And we're very pleased to say that Angela from Roman has told us that this is the best service she's received from any agency, government or otherwise. So a great vote in the services that we provided to her. Just pop to the next case study. Route to Greatness, a very different company in the services sector, made up of experienced business managers. I was the account manager for this company, and I really think they're a very interesting concept. Do check out their website. What they've done is allied a unique management philosophy for change within large, small and medium organisations with a fantastic online platform that then allows the change to be delivered through an organisation. It's all about neuroscience, it's very visual, it's a great example, I think, of great British design. What we've supported Route to Greatness with is with lists of potential partners. Again, very much the bread and butter of what we do for companies day in, day out. This is what we specialise in. We then helped Mark from Route to Greatness with his visit in market so that he wasn't wasting 1 second on logistics and was able to negotiate with potential partners. And we helped set up those client meetings so that he could meet with those partners. And I'm pleased to say that we're pretty much close to sealing the first partner, going live from early 2015. And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking to provide sales and marketing support to the partner as well. And Mark from Route to Greatness told us that we've got some fantastic and effective working relationships between us. Next case study, please. So just last example here, another great British company. I'm very proud of this company, Summerdale Classic English Cheese. mid-sized company, great British company, providing all sorts of different cheeses to all around the world. And we put together a group market entry strategy called Food is Great. You can search us on Twitter if you look at that hashtag. And this was all about grouping companies together and achieving efficiencies of scale that you wouldn't be able to get if you're an individual company. And then following up with sales and marketing support, which allows us to have then a really good conversation with buyers and distributors to say these products will come into market and they'll be supported by companies and match funded by the International UK Business Network. So Somerdale, along with 7 other companies in this project, have now got distributor agreements in place. And I think I can reveal that they're looking at orders collectively between them of around about £1 million in the course of the next 12 months. So it's no surprise that Alan in the quote there is saying that the best thing, the work we've done for Somerdale has been amazing, and again, above and beyond any government organisation I've been exposed to. All across this network and all across the International UK Business Network, we're aiming for that kind of outcome. Now, just go to the next slide in terms of contacts. Do make sure you visit our websites. Each individual business network has one. And if Gemma, if you just pop to the next slide. In terms of useful UK contacts, we recognise there's lots of websites out there, so I think it's really fantastic that we've got the support of the Open to Export website and team, and we're able to do these kind of webinars. But we've also got Export Britain, which is a really useful focal site for you to go to, which can help guide your journey right across the world to get out there. And do make sure, of course, that you're checking in with UK Trade and Investment to understand the support you can get there. So those 3 websites are very useful starting points. We do hope you get in contact with us direct. So I'm now going into Q&A mode, and Matt's taking back over.
Hey guys, thank you very much for a very informative presentation. We've had quite a few questions in from the audience, so I'm going to kick off with one from William, which links to your last case studies, actually, Patrick. So he's asking whether you have access to, I guess, or knowledge about importers who could help UK companies, whatever the sector. Or do you only specialise in certain areas? Do you basically have a sort of a directory? If a company comes to you saying I'm specialised in food and drink, for example, do you know all the companies that are looking for food and drink products?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this, as I say, is really the meat of the matter for what we do. So we've got to make sure that we build really effective databases. I'll speak about Poland, and I think this is true of the entire International UK Business Network. This is absolutely the core bit of our business. We make sure we do that by visiting every single small, medium and large city right across Poland, as we've done this year, to talk to companies in the regions and to work with local government agencies to talk to them about what it is they want to buy from the UK. So we're data mining all the time, and we also work with a range of private sector organisations to be able to access their data. We do a lot of research and analysis ourselves. As I mentioned, those are additional services you can get from the CEE region. So as we generally say, if we don't know an answer to a question from the data that we have, we'll go out and get it. And of course, some companies are very, very specialist, particularly niche, and that requires particularly specialist and niche research and analysis. So sometimes we do it from scratch, sometimes we do it from the data that we already have.
Okay, thanks, Paddy. Anything to add, Chris?
Yeah, I would say that's exactly right, Paddy, spot on. Also what we find as well is we are quite often getting requests from companies across all different types of sectors. So obviously, we do have expertise in many different areas, but obviously we don't always have the right expertise in every single sector, which is fair to say that we do have partners that do have expertise in these areas. So it's very important that we work with those partners as well. But it's true to say that we do communicate with a lot of companies. We do get the information, and we do a lot of research here ourselves. And I'm sure the same in Poland and in all the other CE countries. We do compare notes, and we do have a good broad database across the whole wealth of the region. So it is quite a good way forward.
Okay, thanks guys, excellent. And another question that kind of I think sprung out of your case studies. Liam asks, thinking about marketing now, any recommended sort of online platforms for connecting with customers and even potential partners? Do the same social networks we're familiar with in the UK operate in most of the CE countries, or are there any dedicated local platforms that are good for connecting directly with customers or potential partners?
Chris, if I jump in there, I think it really does depend on your product and service. It's very hard to say in a general way. We see all sorts of different scenarios come past us, so we often put together some different sales and marketing suggestions when we talk to our clients about what they can do to help get their business to the customer. For example, I know a great cosmetics company, a British hair care product company, that does its own B2C marketing because they've got Polish employees, and that can be a great way to get close to your company. That allows them to retain the control over their marketing in the way they wouldn't have if they outsourced it to a partner. And of course, it's a cheaper option for them. So that's all done on Facebook. It's all done using competitions and using influencers and bloggers, for example, to grow the brand in the market. And I think that's a great example of the way that a little, very small two-person, small and medium company, British company, has grown its presence and visibility in a foreign market by utilizing that source. Again, it depends on your company. I think the best thing we can say there is let's look at the specifics of your product, let's examine the consumer, and then let's, for example, look at what kind of formats they use to communicate online. If you're looking at retail, then obviously bloggers and opinion formers can be incredibly powerful now. And that's something which has really got to be understood. I think generally speaking, it's true to say that there are significant numbers of people, for example, in Poland and certainly the CE region, in the older segments, who don't use the internet and e-commerce in the same way that an average person in the UK would do. So it's vital to make sure that you understand the consumer that you're trying to reach before you put in place a sales and marketing strategy about going direct.
Okay, thanks, Paddy. Anything you want to add on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think again, Paddy, that's correct. We also have been developing a digital platform across the network, so the whole region we do have a digital platform, and I think it's very important that people take into consideration, open to export obviously is a great platform to find out a lot of information about the CE and other regions. And if I move over to Chris as well, I mean, Chris can probably explain a little bit about Export Britain as well, and the way that people can use that to hook into the networks. Chris, you're just on mute there a second, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We've worked hard with UKTI and Open to Export as the British Chambers to radically simplify the digital customer experience effectively and really link the Export Britain website, which is the British Chambers of Commerce, with Open to Export and .gov.uk, the UKTI website. And that's predominantly to make it much easier for you to just access services, access the likes of Chris and Patrick, very, very easily, very simply, or failing any of that, you've got clear contact points, pick up the phone, drop us an email, and we'll make sure you get to the right people as quickly, as fast as possible.
Okay, thanks, guys. And just back to the participant questions. I'll put this one to you first, Chris. Chris Plon. I just wanted. We've also talked about Central and Eastern Europe as a kind of as a regional kind of bloc, and you mentioned earlier that it wasn't hugely dissimilar from doing business in the rest of Europe. But I just wondered if there were any significant cultural differences, both in terms of doing business in individual countries within this area, and or sort of consumer sort of needs and attitudes, or do you find that a company who does well in one of these countries has the potential to kind of expand fairly seamlessly into other countries?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, Matthew. I think as I was speaking with Paddy exactly about this at the weekend, we were just discussing how pretty seamless it is to integrate into the CE. I mean, for instance, the strong English language competency that I mentioned before across the region is actually really makes a massive difference. It's very, very straightforward and quite easy to sort of make and build relationships and make personal relationships. I think if you can do it in your own language, it's actually really good as well, and it is very important. There is the British brand is, as I mentioned as well, is very well liked, very respected. We've got consumer trends that actually show that people are very, very interested in UK products and brands. So I think all in all, it is a very easy place, and because it's so close to home, and people kind of imagine the CE as to be some backward set of countries that really are behind the times, and I think they've caught up very soon, and they're very, very quickly, and they've been catching up and overtaking a lot of other countries. And I think the the opportunities here are vast, and I think, Paddy, you can probably agree on that too, no?
Yeah, I think language, I pick up on a point on there with regards to language. Yes, English is the lingua franca of doing business in this region as it is internationally around the world, but a few words in the local language go a very, very long way. Even though Polish and Slovakian and many of the other languages are pretty hard to pronounce, it can be done with a bit of memorization and it makes a big impact. Generally, what we say to companies is, if you're exporting to Germany, which so many British companies do, then you really should be considering the region just slightly to the east of it. It's almost certain that your distributor or the people that you're getting your supplies from, or your manufacturer in Germany, or your business partner, has networks in those regions. But again, if you're looking at the consumer habits and the way that as a region, as Chris says, these are all markets on the up, they're dynamic, they're emerging markets, they're growing economies, and that makes them hungry for services and products that Western Europe, for example, may already be saturated in. So you're swimming in bluer water with regards to the potential for your product. Of course, each market has its own specificities, but really, you know, we consider this our selling point. This is a relatively homogenous, big 100 million person consumer market. It's just 2 hours away from you, in which it's perfectly possible to do, as a hygiene and cleaning company is doing in Poland right now, to have a 10-year market expansion plan which goes Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, including setting up manufacturing in one of those 3 markets. That's very much a 10-year vision for them, but it's absolutely doable.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you. That sounds like a very positive and encouraging note on which to close off. We're almost out of time. So, Jim, just a few housekeeping slides to wrap up. A reminder that if you wanted any of the information covered in the slides, that the whole webinar will be on our YouTube channel within the next couple of days. So don't worry if there's any details you wanted to kind of recap on. And you can see the previous webinar, which tells you a bit more about this initiative, and all previous Open to Export webinars on there. Thanks, Jimmer. And as the guys pointed out, there's lots of ways to get help. I think sort of a couple of questions came through. How do we contact sort of Paddy or Chris if, to find out more about some of the services? If you go, when you view the webinar back, there's details on how to connect with their relevant chamber. Otherwise, go to Export Britain, where there's a full directory of contact details for each of the overseas British chambers, so you can contact them direct, talk to your ITA about the services they can offer. But if you want any advice or help online, we have a discussion forum which is manned by a community of experts across the world, including representatives from the overseas chambers, from UK embassies, via UKTI, and from a host of other kind of experts and exporters. So if you have a quick question, you want to sort of follow up on anything you've heard in the webinar, and you just want to do that online, go to Open to Export, and you can do that on our discussion forum. And just to wrap up, don't forget, next webinar is focusing on what I suspect is a very different region, looking at Latin America, but not the kind of the more exposed markets such as Brazil, but focusing specifically on the emerging Pacific Alliance market. So looking at Mexico, Chile, and Colombia, and we've got some excellent speakers, local experts from Mexico will be speaking on that, and that's on 2 weeks' time. Tuesday the 22nd of July, again starting at 2 p.m. The final webinar in the series is 2 weeks following that, looking at Southeast Asia. So all that remains is to thank very much our speakers, Patrick May, Christopher Plant, and thank you, Chris, for being available to answer questions as well. We hope to see you, as many of you as possible, at the next webinar on the 22nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you.